Salut! I am the Rasta Witch. Here's where we learn the way of the Yan Sui Rasta, which is to say, my kind of Ital. Please subscribe and begin your own kind of Yan Sui witchcraft. All roads lead to Rome. Home. Okay, so we are on the tens. Awesome. So today is the 31st of December 2023. My goal was to have all the minor arcana done by the time the year ends. So this is the last ones of the minor arcana. So my goal is complete. And that's what the tens mean. The tens are the last cards in the minor arcana. These cards are huge. According to the Sefer Yetzirah, we create things first from our minds, number 1, then going down the Sephirot to number 10, the idea is made manifest. It says it's not a coincidence that we have 10 fingers and there's 10 Sephirot. You can't just think it, you have to do it. This is all why we count in tens. You know, the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, etc. Then the hundreds, the thousands, the millions, etc. It's all done with tens because we have 10 fingers. In the Kabbalah, the corresponding Hebrew word for number 10 is Malkut, which means kingdom. Its planet is the earth, because the earth is our manifest world, our kingdom. Our natural home. The tens are all the fulfillment of their suit, the completion, cards of accomplishment. Okay, moving on. Now we go to the 10 of Wands. Wands, as you know, is fire energy. And this card's astrological signature is Saturn in Sagittarius. It is the card of oppression. The heaviness of Saturn has overcome the joyous freedom of Sagittarius, which is oppressed with the limits of the material world. This card is to be burdened with heavy responsibilities. Maybe it's time to share that responsibility with others, moving from necessity rather than choice. Or it can mean reciprocal stimulation of energy and matter. You know, stop being downhearted. Just stop letting others take advantage of you. You know? So, if we look at this card, so again, 10 is the completion of the suit. You know, so he's got 10 wands. That's as many as you can have, you know? And he's not like skipping and whistling and anything like that. You know, he's got work to do, you know? Again, this is the card of oppression. So he's got work to do. Look, his village is still quite a ways away on the horizon there. But if you look, all he had 10 wands is a lot of wand energy. They're not just like straight in a bundle. They're like all like about ready to fly out and fly away. There's so much fire energy and creativity, and you know, he's got quite a package with him, you know. So it's hard work, but it's you know, it's going to contribute. By the time he brings those 10 wands back to the village, you know, he's made quite a contribution. His work is important, you know. So the 10 of Wands is fire in its most destructive aspect, you know, maybe slander or even selfishness, you know. It's the fire pit that's going to be going out. But it was a productive fire, a Nyabingi fire. Okay, now we go to the 10 of Cups, which is Mars in Pisces. It is the card of satiety. Satiety? I'm not even sure how to pronounce that word, I'm sorry. I can be kind of a dork. It is emotional fulfillment. It's water energy, cups. Mars brings, however, restless energy to Pisces. The word satiety means saturation. This is, by the way, one of my favorite cards, the Stoner card. So look at the card in the Herbal Tarot deck. The corresponding herb for this card is marijuana. This is the cannabis card. So you can see that the 10 cups have been placed in a really very creative, like that would be hard to do, a very creative stack like that. And you know, and there's all these clouds and everything, and there's the rainbow there. I mean, doesn't that card feel fantastic? You know, the rainbow signifies hope for tomorrow. You know, this is the fulfillment of the human dream for happiness and joy in relationships, contentment and real harmony. You know, it's a pie in the sky, maybe even a pipe dream. But, you know, it means brainstorming. You know, you think about it, it's the wisdom weed, like they found cannabis on Solomon's grave. You know, it's Solomon's weed, the wisdom weed. You know, emotional high tide, powerful intuition. You know, like I said, Mars brings, you know, restless energy to Pisces. Some people don't really like being stoned, and think about the reasons. You know, that's kind of the negative aspects. You know, well, if you really know how to enjoy your cannabis buzz, it's a wonderful thing. But it has its down. It can be kind of a pipe dream. You know, when you're done being stoned, you're like, oh, that idea wasn't as good of an idea as I thought it was an hour ago. You know, and some people, it just makes them too restless, you know, like Mars brings restless energy to Pisces, you know. But for the most part, it's emotional high tide, it's powerful intuition, it's the wisdom weed, it's good things, you know. Some people do their best parenting while stoned. A lot of these cards have the whole family sitting there, you know, a whole family holding hands, you know. You know, outside of their village. You know, they had to come outside and enjoy the weather, you know, to feel this way, you know. This card can be the card of belonging and marriage, family, good partnerships, peacemaking, long-term success. You know, family's better than money, glory. Okay, so the 10 of Cups was one of my favorite ones, but now we move to the 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords is one of the worst cards in the deck, I think. It's not usually, but it doesn't have to be that bad. But let's go over that. So the 10 of Swords is the Sun in Gemini. But it's the card of ruin. This is one of the worst cards, I think. The battle has been sadly lost. So if you look at the card, a lot of 10 of Swords it doesn't just have the cards on the ground, it has all 10 cards stabbed into a dead body, you know. But this card, if you look, I mean, wow, that is not a beautiful sight, huh? If you look at in the Herbal Tarot deck, if you look at the corresponding herb for this, it's a Phaedra. You know, back in the day, I had a dark era of my life. You know, I was into smoking crack and had like a bad background. There was these pills that we called cross tops. They were mini thins. You could actually buy them over the counter that was made of a ephedrine. Ephedra is the plant. You know, and a lot of the drugs are taken from a plant, and then they make a name that sounds kind of the same. So ephedrine sounds like ephedra. This is ephedra, you know. So this is like I call it the tweaker card, you know. My generation, you know, the rockers and stoners of the 80s, we you know, by the end, some of us by the end of the 80s were smoking crack, but by the time it was the 90s, it was all replaced with crystal meth, and meth just destroyed my generation. You know, sometimes I see people in my generation, I'm like, oh, hi, how you doing? And they're like, their teeth are all rotted out of their head, and they're they're just not, this is the card of ruin, like I said. The abomination of desolation, the fulfillment of desolation, no more room for pain. A stab in the back, established ideology in a bad way, abandonment. But just like plants can, if plants are used right, ephedra is no exception. If ephedra can be used in a good way, and this card can have good meanings, it can mean you're projecting darkness, yet there is some light within, like Anakin Skywalker. Well, like Darth Vader, who Luke believed that there was still some good within him, and then by the end of the episode 6, he returned to being Anakin Skywalker, because he did have some good within. This can be like, if you've ever known some tweakers, the card of idle chatter, the reason divorced from reality. It's mostly, I think, just a bad card, but it's a card of death. It's an airy card, and your thoughts, they're swords, so it's your mindsets, so it can mean the death of a bad idea, or time to move on to the next idea because you've already worked that one and succeeded in it. There's 10 swords. That's enough swords. There's no more swords you can get. Now it's time to move on. So it can be positive. It's not like there's 11 swords and it's going to get any worse. It's as bad as it can get, or if it's a good thing, it's good, but it's going to be bad if you keep trying, because it's dead and it's time to move on to the next thing. So it doesn't have to, most cards are like that. It doesn't always have to be real bad, just like how death brings birth. Okay, now we move on to the 10 of discs, the 10 of pentacles, or the 10 of coins, depending on what deck you're looking at. Okay, this is Mercury in Virgo, the card of wealth. Recognition of change from one stage of life to another. The rite of passage to celebrate and transition. The fully transitioned trans woman. The crowning in the kingdom of Malkut, payday. The transition from employment to retirement, single to married. So if you look at this card, this is another card I really like. So 10 is an earth, earth energy. So it's like things you can taste, touch, smell, feel, it's money, things like that. So here you can see that we're in this house, and there's this old man there with like the finest chair and coat. He's dressed like really fine, so he's like retired and really well off. The work done, old age. This card can mean like old age. And he's looking at the next generation, his son that lives with him, or maybe he lives with his son, I'm not sure. And the son is letting in this woman, I guess is letting in the woman, and she's got a little child that the child wished that he or she could come in and play with the dogs. And wow, what a fun looking house. I want, look, she's excited about the dogs, but she's looking over here, she just likes a lot of things that she sees. She wants to come in, and her mom, you can tell, knows that, because she's like tugging on her dress there and saying, come on, let's go in, and she feels the same way, but she's more, her big prize is this guy, like they're gonna start dating, and the old man's looking at him like, boy, I remember those days, and look at the coins, that you couldn't fit more coins on there, so this is, the fulfillment in coins and money and wealth like that, Successful manifestation, dynasty, maybe a renewing of resources, but it can mean more is not always better, is kind of the downside. Don't be deceived by appearances. If you knew, like if she moved in, sometimes you start a relationship, you move in and you find out that the person's toxic and it's real bad. Right now, the kid's excited and she's excited, but if they were to like start a relationship and she were to move in there, maybe she would think, whoa, this guy's crazy, and the kid's like, oh, I don't like, my new stepdad or my new whatever, your boyfriend or whatever, I mean, don't be deceived by appearances. Look again from the bigger picture. It might mean that, It might simply mean old age, though, like an emphasis on the old man. He's kind of the star of the show, if you look at it. Everything else is just things that's happening in the background that the old man's looking at. So it can just mean old man or retirement, If it's a young person, it can mean like a fulfillment in that suit, the coins, and so it's a new level of vitality, but it's a traditional accomplishment, because the older generation's looking at the younger generation. Okay, that was the 10 of each suit, the 10. So the last of the minor arcana cards. Yay! And it's the last day of the year. Yay! So next we'll move on to the court cards. And the court cards, there's like the King of Wands, King of Cups, King of Swords, King of Discs. So each, there's still, something in each suit for each of the court cards: the King, the Queen, the Knight, and the Page.